It was before Captain Picard said Earl Grey hot too.
Oh,
I changed my name back in 1998 when is that right? 98? No, it was before then. No, that's wrong. 1988. 1988.
That must
so
be
I'd say
that's the dates I got mixed up was your name, because I remember we talked about dates, and I thought you were much older like me and had worked with, Stan and the captain, out of Ohio with his
I'm getting
wife.
up there. I am 63, so I'm not a spring chicken anymore. But I just turned 63 last week, in fact. But
17 years younger. But you could still be young enough to be my child, because I had my first daughter at 16.
I guess technically. But
back in the Vietnam War, we got started early. But remember, I got started
I was too
in
young
this
for
business
that.
in '67. Yeah, the NASA.
I had friends and neighbors that went over to Vietnam, but I kind of lucked out there. I was just young enough that I missed that whole mess.
Oh.
But thank God.
But you lived through it. You remember it, though, right?
I remember it very, very well. And I've worked as a musician for since I was a kid. My first paying gig was back in 1972. And but anybody that works as a musician, they also know. I mean, you usually have to have something else that you're doing in order to make ends meet. Either that or you're playing cover songs. I know one guy that's working in a band called Led Zeppelin, and they do the Led Zeppelin thing beautifully, amazingly. I mean, Jimmy Page, Led Zeppelin's actual guitar player, gave them kudos and said that he couldn't tell the difference between them and his own band live. But that's one way to make money, is by doing cover stuff, playing in a Beatles cover band or just playing in a bar band, to where you can, play songs that people are requesting. Of course, all that ended a year and a half ago with the advent of the COVID pandemic. Very sad. A lot of my musician friends had a very rough time of it. That's one of my hats, and everybody kind of knew me on social media as Earl Grey, but it was my musician name. So it kind of worked with the UFO thing, of course, with the gray alien stuff, right? It's still a pun, 'cause it's the T and it's kind of silly. And that's kind of what I went for. I wanted to, it was just sort of like Elvis Costello, Elton John, those are all, pseudonyms. And I needed one because one club in particular that I played at, they kept putting my name wrong on the marquee. They mixed me up with Carl Anderson, who's an R&B singer out here. He's played Judas in Jesus Christ Superstar. Is that guy? So he would bring a totally different crowd than mine. And 2 times the guy that did the marquee got our names wrong on there. And so I would go to do my show, and there's a bunch of people expecting to hear an R&B act. And there I was with my acoustic guitar, doing my thing, which is more like James Taylor kind of acoustic rock pop stuff, So I decided to change my name just to get around that, and just because it was easier for people to remember. I just figured, well, Earl Grey, if I'm playing in a coffee house, it's free advertisement for me. Anybody that goes and orders a coffee, they're going to see Earl Grey tea, and they're going to think about me. So it actually served me pretty well as a musician. As a ufologist, so-so. That's why I'm trying to get my actual last name in there again, and I'm just going with Earl Grey Anderson. That way the people that knew me as a musician, they know it's that guy, right? But I'm not going to be scaring people, making them think that I'm a gray alien that's calling them up to talk about their UFO case, because that could be a problem too, right? I've had a couple people, I'm glad I thought you might be a gray alien, So that's the Earl Grey business and where that came from. I'm probably not the only musician to have a pseudonym. There's quite a few of us out there actually, but as far as UFOs go, it's been okay. At least people remember who I am. It's worked that way with the music as well as with the UFO stuff that I do. So I guess that's good. Are you there, TJ? I can't hear you all of a sudden. I'm not sure if she's muted or her phone went out. And I don't know if I'm still on the air here. But you don't want dead air, so I guess I'll keep talking. So one thing that I've learned in my UFO investigations is that you have to keep, with MUFON, there's always a scientific principles that we want to follow, and we want to be known as an investigatory group that science is paramount to what we do. And, you go and you look at the roster of people working for MUFON, you're going to see, that we have astrophysicists, that we have people that are, just a lot of PhDs out there, as well as, common folks like, myself. I don't have a PhD. I mean, I'm a nurse. I have my nursing license, and that's, where, but most of my sciences, I've been sort of an auteur and self-taught over the years, reading a lot of science books, I'm an amateur astronomer as well as everything else that I do. So I had that background in astronomy, and that's been helpful. There's one of the things that I have to deal with quite often is that people will see something that they think is a UFO, and it's not always a UFO. And sometimes people that are really good observers will be mistaken. For instance, we recently had a couple of Navy guys that put in a FLIR infrared video that they took of a jet afterburner, and it looked like two UFOs, two spheres that were flying next to each other. But looking at the radar, the video that they sent, you could tell what it was. If you have that background, is like, nope, that's an afterburner. I've seen this before. And J. Allen Hynek, who was the head of the Air Force's Project Blue Book investigation into UFOs, he's one of my personal heroes. His son Paul Hynek is a very close friend of mine, and the way that J. Allen Hynek investigated this phenomena is always something that is in the back of my mind when I'm doing this myself. And that Hynek said that 95% of the UFO reports, 95 to 90%, are usually prosaic. That they're usually something that people misunderstood. That was a prosaic object. Like, we'll get a lot of Mylar balloon reports that come in, because something as simple as a Mylar party balloon can look very, very strange. It can look like a silver UFO that's flashing Morse code at you. And the other thing is the personal radio-controlled drones that people see out there. Same thing. They get misidentified as UFOs. And so a lot of what I do at MUFON is trying to figure out what something actually was. And I'll kind of go through the litany, and I'll go through the various things that we see repeated from case to case. You'll see a lot of the drones that people think are UFOs. That it can be a drone that's on flash mode, and they'll spin around, and it looks like a circular object, like a flying saucer, with a band of light spinning around the center of it. And boy, we get a lot of those. We get a lot of sightings lately of Elon Musk's satellite train, the SpaceX Starlink satellites, and then they look very weird. Look very, very strange. The first time reports came in of that, it was like, what is this? Because you'll see like light after light after light, evenly spaced, going across the sky, going across the ecliptic area where, you see satellites going. But this is unlike any satellite that anybody ever saw. It looks like this long train of lights. And but that's what people have been seeing. And I'll get like 3, 4, 5 different reports per month of people that see that. But then I'll get real UFO reports where somebody will see a literal flying saucer. It looks like it came out of a science fiction film. And there's no other way to explain it. As far as we know, our government doesn't have anything that looks like that flies like that. As far as we know, we don't have anything that can reach, 18 times the speed of sound like the Tic Tac UFO did. Tic Tac should have created a fireball. It should have created 18 sonic booms in its wake. It did neither of those. It just made 180-degree turns on a dime, which would kill a pilot if that was a regular craft of some kind or a jet of some kind. No human would survive that. But that's a UFO, and that's the difference between a prosaic object and those objects that are not prosaic. So anyway, I'm not hearing anybody on the other side here. I'm not sure what's going on. So I think I'm going to hang up here, and if TJ wants me on for a little bit longer, I'll come back. So it was wonderful getting to talk with you guys about UFOs. Again, my name is Earl Grey Anderson, and I do work for the Mutual UFO Network, MUFON. That you can, if you see a UFO, just go to MUFON.com, and right on that page it will say to report a UFO, and it's very easy. It'll take you 10 minutes max, and that's where our cases come from. And there you go. So I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day.
Travel the world and the 7 seas. Everybody's looking for something. Some of them want to use you.
We're back.
Hello.
I apologize. I got an important legal call from Stuff. I had to take it. I apologize to you. Let me see who this is. Hi, 619. You're live and on the air with TJ and Earl. How may we help you?
Yeah, I guess I would like to ask a question of the guest.
Of course. You'll have to tell us your name because we're live recorded forever. This is live and archived. And I'm having a whole bunch of people very interested in our new world. So can you tell us your name and where you're calling from?
Well, I'm calling from San Diego, and I'll tell you a little bit about the name thing when I ask the question. How about that?
Earl, this may be somebody you know or heard your music or in MUFON or just loves UFOs. But, okay, I'll let you be a guest, but I'm used to knowing who I'm talking to. Okay, Earl, are you up for this?
Yeah, sure. What's up here?
Okay, what's up, ladies?
Well, I've had a couple of contact experiences, and they've been positive, actually. But I've never called MUFON, and I didn't know that there was an organization like that until, I guess, a couple of years ago from listening to internet radio. And I always wondered why I didn't call. And recently I called a friend of mine who I was living with at the time of one of these experiences and said to him, gee, I wonder why I didn't at the time. Now, I mentioned the thing about the name because both times of the experience, I ended up changing my name after the experience.
I'm sorry. We hear a lot of stuff. I'm so sorry. I'm not being disrespectful. I had that happen to me once, but that's why I'm laughing, because I had to have names